Hey everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here. We're doing our first ever on this new camera, the first ever version of a just sports content video because big story in the NBA, one that I've been tracking here on the channel for a while. That is the Dallas Mavericks. Kyrie Irving early on in this game tonight against, or it was on Monday night against the Sacramento Kings, was injured. They're calling it a knee sprain. It did not look good. He was crying. He looked visibly upset that he knew that something potentially significant may have happened to his knee. He's had issues with his lower body and his knees in particular. You remember with the Cavs, his season ended. I think that was with a knee injury, or it might have been a broken foot or something. But he has dealt with a lot of, because of the way that he plays, a lot of movement, a lot of activity with his handle and everything, um, leads to injuries. And the reason why this is significant is one point that I've been driving home further is regards to this Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis trade. First and foremost, we need to have a conversation about the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not going to go as far as to say JJ Redick's the coach of the year. I was on this before almost anybody, and I know a lot of people may say, "Yeah, LeBron." Guys, Lakers were sitting like fourth or fifth a while ago when they made that trade for Luka. I was initially lukewarm, but once I saw it firsthand, I was like, "Okay, this is legit." I'm ready to call it. I'm ready to ring the bell and just call the knockout and basically just say, there's no coming back from this trade. The Mavs lost. They lost. They lost because here's the reality of the situation right now. The Mavs are closer to missing the playoffs altogether in the play-in tournament than being a factor in this because you don't know when Anthony Davis is coming back. Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, you don't know how that's going to work out. And now your number one scoring option, Kyrie Irving, is who knows? It's a knee sprain. It could turn into maybe it's the end of the season. You don't know with knees, and we've got a month left to go in the season. If I'm Dallas, I seriously think about just tanking the season and trying my best that I possibly can to get as many ping pong balls so I can go get Cooper Flagg, and maybe the NBA feels sorry for me and rigs this because if you're Dallas at this point, and I don't know how we'll have more information about why they rationalize trading a 25, now 26-year-old superstar who's a five-time All-NBA player. You guys have heard me sing the praises of Luka constantly on this channel. But now their best offensive player is Klay Thompson. All due respect to Klay Thompson. I love and adore Klay. Klay Thompson at this stage of his career is not a number one option. So if Kyrie Irving's out for any significant portion of time, and I still do not know the timetable on Anthony Davis, I would shut this thing down and I would just basically call a mulligan and bank on, and like I said, they need to win a championship within the next year to maybe 3 years. So I would just punt on this season. It's not going to work. Even if you get everybody back, even if Kyrie avoids injury, I don't see this team winning a championship. It's just like a lot of people say, hey, maybe if Anthony Davis, guys, I've already seen, I've only seen like some semblance like of a quarter of like a half of a game that it's like, yeah, it looked cool. So if Anthony Davis comes back, say in like a few weeks or even in a couple weeks, you still got to get chemistry down and then you're going to keep starting to piece things back. And it's just like, this just feels so abrupt, like considering what the trade was. And now the injuries have just halted the growth of this team. So if I'm Dallas, first of all, at some point, Dallas, they won't ever admit this publicly. They fucked up. I've said that consistently here on this channel. But if you're Dallas, you've got to tank. The Mavs have to tank at this point because at what point does it become apparent that you're not a contender this year? Because here let's look at the West standings before I sign off here. So the 9 teams that are ahead of Dallas currently in the standings. And then we can look below about the prospect of, them potentially falling out of the play-in, which gives them a better chance of potentially, winning the draft lottery, which we've seen crazier shit happen. Okay, so Mavs are in number 10. They're 32-20 right now. Minnesota's ahead of them at 9. Sacramento's at 8. They just beat them. The Clippers at 7. Quietly, the Clippers, maybe sneaking into a potential play-in situation. Like, really sneaky good season from Ty Lue. I was ready to leave the Clippers for dead. Golden State, and now we're in the 6 teams that would be locked in if the season ended today. Golden State at 6. They're at 33 and 28. Credit to Steve Kerr. The Jimmy Butler acquisition has worked. I was wrong. You got Houston at 5. Houston quietly with a young nucleus of people. Ime Udoka, no matter how you feel about him, great season. Memphis is now falling down. They 2, 3, 4, and 5 are really separated by 2 games. So Houston at 5, then you got Memphis at 4. Memphis has had a really great season. Denver's at 3, champion from 2 years ago. Lakers are now at 2 by percentage points. And then Oklahoma City just won their 50th game on Monday night to tie my Cleveland Cavaliers. They're ahead by 11 games. They're going to be the 1 seed in the Western Conference. Oklahoma City's clearly the best team. So if you're Dallas, do you think probably maybe we can Golden State would be an interesting series if we had all of our guys. Houston's a little bit of a problem because of their versatility and their length on the wing. They caused the Cavs a bunch of issues this year. Memphis is very deep, very long defensively. Denver, we already know, has maybe the best player in the league in Nikola Jokic. The Lakers just speaks for itself. And then Oklahoma City. I would say Denver, the Lakers, and Oklahoma City are maybe the 3 teams that I would feel strongly that the Mavs would not beat. Maybe I'm wrong. It's just like the problem is, I think Oklahoma City in particular is deep. Yes, they're young. Denver, their depth is a problem and their lack of it, and they lean too much on Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. But until somebody knocks them off, I still think the Nuggets are going to be a problem, because this is a championship team and they might have been in position to win another one had they not had a bad second half against the Minnesota Timberwolves in a game 7 at home in the Western second and the semifinals, the Western Conference semifinals. So really, like, if you're Dallas, I just don't think it's worth it to even try to go for this thing, even if you can find your way out of the play-in, because here's the crazy thing. They're only a game and a half away from being in the playoffs. That's why the argument could be maybe not to tank. But if Kyrie Irving's hurt, and he's hurt for a significant portion of time, I just don't know how this team's going to score. I don't. Because Klay Thompson is not a number 1 option. At this stage, he wasn't a number 1 option in the prime of his career. It was all about Steph Curry. So this is where it gets tricky. Why, tanking may not be necessarily the number 1 best, but it's advantageous for them because they're going to need pieces, and they don't get their pick, I think, next year. I was talking to a buddy of mine about this. But yeah, Phoenix is 3.5 games out of the 10th hole. And then Portland is 4 full games back. Those are the only 2 teams that I realistically can see jumping up and potentially, stealing that last play-in spot, which would be advantageous for Dallas to get out of there. I would tank if it were me, because, and I think most Mavs fans would probably agree with me, that the ceiling of this team and probably the best opportunity for them to potentially win something significant was this year. And they all got beaten up. The trade just didn't work out. Maybe they can reload it next year and potentially find a way to make it work. But if they don't win it next year, or even, I would say even, maybe even stretch it another year and see if they can maybe make it work. But that's pushing it a little bit. So I do think Portland's very interesting. They gave my Cavs a ton of trouble. Granted, Donovan Mitchell didn't play. They're a young team, very exciting young team. They're 4 full games out. I don't have their schedule in front of me, but it's going to be interesting to see if they can continue to run off some wins here with Chauncey Billups as their head coach and a bunch of young players, and maybe potentially position themselves. I have no confidence that Phoenix is going to make the play-in. I just have no trust in them whatsoever. Like, this is as disappointing a team as there is. But if you're Dallas, yes, I understand that you are potentially a game and a half away from being in. You're a game and a half away from potentially being in the 6th spot and firmly in the playoffs. And then maybe at that point you feel good about yourself. But seeing this injury and seeing the way Kyrie Irving reacted, he's going to be out for a minute here. Just knowing his injury history, and by the time he comes back, and I don't know how that syncs up with Anthony Davis. I don't know how this team is going to be able to, like, substantially be able to, like, get a rotation and get stuff in position to where they're at a good capacity going into the playoffs. Because if like, it takes a while for chemistry to grow. Anthony Davis got traded there. First game he gets hurt. And your other two big guys, they haven't played. Now your star point guard and your leading scorer on this team isn't there. Klay Thompson's got injury history. Like, again, this is almost like the universe telling the Dallas Mavericks and Nico Harrison and their ownership group, you fucked up, you made a bad decision, you were petty, and you were stupid in trading Luka Doncic. And they'll never admit it, but this is every single injury or every single weird thing that happens to the Mavs just is almost like a universal code to them that basically just says, you guys made the wrong decision. I mean, Mark Cuban still has an ownership stake in it. He doesn't even agree with it. So if Mavs fans, if I'm speaking to you, get at me in the comments, get at me on Twitter. Tell me what you think that the Mavs should do. I already know what my buddy Andrew thinks. Danny, I wonder what you're thinking too. Cooper Flagg is a different breed. And if there's a player that you'd want to tank for, I would do that. And if you want to try and reset this thing, I know, hey, at least have your chances in the lottery. So at this point, it's like I said, what do you have to lose? If you even slip into the playoffs, I think Oklahoma City is probably the best team. And I think the Lakers are better than them. Because they the best player in the deal went to the Lakers. Whether anybody wants to admit it or not, Anthony Davis is old, and he, for whatever reason, the health that he had in the Lakers, he immediately goes to the Mavs. He's not there. So, and Denver's still around. It's just like, I just don't see a path for them to win the West, even if everybody's healthy, and I don't think that's going to happen. All right. Thanks for watching this video. Get at me in the comments. Appreciate all the love and support. Like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.